Welcome back, third grade. And now we are going to go into our Journeys book. Now, some of you finished this page already, and you did a great job, some of you. And that's because you read the directions and you looked back at the pages to make sure that you were answering the question that was being asked. So let's take a look on page 109 in our workbook, and we'll open our hardcover book. Let's see, 241 is where we're going to start. Hello and welcome. Well, wait a second. So, an interview with Locust and Whale. So, Locust and Whale are being interviewed. So, when you answer, you're answering as if you are the locust or you're the whale. Hello and welcome to the weekly radio program, Animal Journeys. Today we are going to talk with Locust and Whale, two animals that take amazing journeys. So they're going to start with Locust. And it says, read pages 241 and 242. Now, you should have already read the whole thing on your own twice, or listened to me twice, or a combination. You could have listened to me once and read it a second time by yourself, but we always want to read more than once when we're reading for information, especially. And these are informative articles. This is nonfiction, so it's true. So it says 241 and 242, and here's the question. Locust, let's hear your story first. What makes you migrate? What makes you migrate? So I'm the locust, and I go back to page 241, and now because I've read this already, I can skim through. Let's see, they move across. Now they have only one choice, to migrate. Okay, so why do they have to migrate? I'm going to go back in that second paragraph. Right here it says they have to migrate. Now, why they have to migrate is going to be up here, up in this paragraph. Sometimes too many grasshoppers' eggs are laid in one small area. When the grasshoppers are born, there isn't enough food. So I could write, sometimes too many eggs hatch too many grasshoppers. Am I finished? Does that answer my question completely? Why do you migrate? I think I should add something. What makes you migrate? Sometimes too many eggs hatch too many grasshoppers. Then there isn't enough food. Now we identified the problem. Now there isn't enough food. You can stop this video and work on this question as long as you need to. I'm going to keep going. Number 2, they're still talking to the locust. It says read page 243, so I'm going to turn to page 243. What happens when you all land? Page 243. So on page 242, they talk about how the locust develops from the grasshopper, and they take wings and they fly by billions, and then they say, what happens next is even more incredible. Right there. What happens next is even more incredible. When the locusts fly to the ground, that's the same as when they land, they will eat every plant, every blade of grass, every leaf and bush and piece of vegetation as far as the eye can see. How interesting. What happens when you all land? We eat every leaf, blade of grass, oh, I missed one, plant, bush, and piece of vegetation. And yesterday when we were reading, we stopped to think about what that word means. Vegetation. We eat vegetables. They're very good for us. And some of them are really delicious. Vegetables come from plants. So vegetation is plant life. We locusts, we eat it all. We eat all the plant life. Do you know, I've read about the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl. And during the Dust Bowl, people, and sometimes people still do this, my mother still loves to hang her clothes out on the clothesline and to dry after they've been washed. And I do that too sometimes. And back in the 30s, they didn't have cloth like polyester and nylon and stuff like that. Most of the clothes were made of cotton. And you know that cotton grows from a plant. So guess what the locusts would do? You're right. They would eat the clothes right off the clothesline. So if they were cotton, made of cotton or linen or something from a plant, those locusts would just eat it. Okay, on we go to page 109 in our workbook, the last question for locust. Read pages 246 and 247. I'm turning my pages. Ooh, 246, I remember that's where they talk about where they travel. Let's see, what's the question? Now tell us more about how you travel. Page 246 and 247. As the locusts migrate, which is travel, in search of food, they ride the winds from one area of rainfall to another. So they like to get with the wind blowing them along to give them a little boost or a big boost. So let's see. They travel on sunny mornings and stop in late afternoon to roost for the night. Let's see. When we reach a rainy area, we mate and die, but the new eggs hatch and the new swarm begins moving. And this happens again and again until one day a swarm returns to the same place where the very first locusts began. And if the eggs laid are not too many, when the new eggs hatch, they're going to be grasshoppers. So I think we've got our answer on page 246. How do we travel? We ride the winds from one area of rainfall or one rainy area to the next. That's what I've got so far. I'm going to read through my book and see if there's anything else I should add. Let's see. There's always more food where it rains. They travel on sunny mornings and stop in late afternoon to roost for the night. I think I'm going to add that. We travel, because that's more about how we travel. We travel on sunny mornings. So they seem to like the sunshine. But if it's not sunny, maybe it's raining and they're just eating and eating. We travel on sunny mornings and roost in the afternoon, or stop. When we roost, you hear about like chickens and roosters roosting. That means they gather for the night to go to sleep. So they stop their activity. So we're going to say, and we ride the winds from one rainy area to the next. We travel on sunny mornings and stop in the afternoon. Now, I ran out of space here, so I pretended like I had another line and I started all the way over here. And I punctuated. So now guess what the next page is going to be? Now it's going to be Whale's turn to talk. So look at the directions. Read page 248 and 250. Let's go to those two pages, 248. Oh, through 250. So here we see the picture of the whales. No mammal migrates as far as the big gray whale, over 6,000 miles and back on an empty stomach. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back and see what the question is for whale. Whale, you migrate too, but for different reasons. Why do you migrate? Okay, well, we just read that he migrates a long way on an empty stomach. Let's go on, skimming through, because we've already read it. Gray whales love the cold waters near the North Pole. It's full of food they love to eat. And they describe the food and how they have baleen instead of teeth. They eat mostly alone, but in the fall they begin to look for some traveling companions. Because the whales know one thing for certain: they must migrate. It doesn't say why, though. Let's keep reading. In winter, the Arctic seas are going to be filled with solid ice, and the whales will die if we stay. So why do they have to leave? The water in the Arctic freezes, and we will die. They feel that coldness and they swim toward the warmer water. The gray whales swim and eat mostly alone. Let's go on to that last. The first gray whales to leave the Arctic are the pregnant females. These mothers want to have plenty of time to reach the warm waters of California and Mexico before they give birth. They don't want to have a baby in the icy water. I think the baby would not survive. And then they said to read 250 also. The other whales will follow, and in small groups they will all travel down the Pacific coast. Once they leave the Arctic, they won't find much food again, and it may be as long as 8 months before they eat. But the whales have stored a lot of fat in their bodies called blubber, and this will keep them alive. So that extra fat in their body is going to give them energy for their journey and keep them alive. So why do we migrate? The water in the Arctic freezes and we will die. Simple as that. What do you do on your migration that is similar to what locusts do? In the fall, they will begin to look for some traveling companions. We travel in groups. Remember, the locusts travel in swarms and the whales travel in pods. We both travel in groups. So one locust doesn't go off by himself. One whale doesn't go off by herself. They go off in groups and they come back in groups. Page 251 and 252. When you arrive at the warm tropical waters in January, what happens? As they travel, the whales often swim near shore. People along the way are thrilled. When finally the gray whales reach the warm tropical waters, the pregnant females will give birth and the other males will mate. We females give birth. We adults mate. So they'll be having more baby whales later. And it says, with the new calves among them, they will enjoy life in the peaceful lagoons for a while. Then in March, they will be ready to head back to the Arctic. So it sounds like we rest for a while. We rest. Now it says, page 252 to 253, when spring comes, why do you migrate again? Then in March, we'll be ready to head back to the Arctic for summer. They haven't forgotten how they love to eat there. We love the food in the, where are they going back to? The Arctic. That's their feeding grounds. All right, I'll be back in a little while for language arts.